Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's skill building session on why study international relations. In these critical times, our world is more interconnected than ever before, and thus it has become imperative to have a globally oriented perspective on issues that transcend national boundaries. We believe now more than ever, corporations and governments are seeking to hire individuals skilled in international relations and diplomacy who can help them meet the demands of this shift towards globalization. Let us understand this better from Dr. Alexander Bukh, Associate Professor, Political Science and International Relations, and also the Associate Dean, FHSS from Victoria University of Wellington, which has a rich history of 115 years and has three campuses spread all over Wellington City. One of it is New Zealand's top ranked university for research intensity in the QS World Ranking. Welcome, Dr. Bukh, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Robbie. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. It's a great pleasure and a great honor to be here. And hello to everybody, all the students that are, I guess, all over India. I hope that you all are staying safe and you're not being affected too badly by the ongoing pandemic. Today we're gonna talk about why study international relations and what is this discipline? What is it all about? What kind of issues we're dealing with? This is going to be a very relatively short session. I hope though that you will get at least some ideas and some perspectives on what we do in the discipline of international relations. I'm just sharing my screen with you. Yes, so this is the kind of the question that I will try to answer today. Why do we need to study international relations, and how exactly do we do it? Because I think international relations, I mean, if you study engineering or if you study medicine, if you decide to study computer science, it's kind of more or less clear why you're studying that, and to a certain extent, I guess, how you're going to study it. But with international relations, it's a bit more difficult or a bit more vague, I guess, because we all have certain ideas about international relations, and we all do international relations. We all read about international relations. We all watch the news. So I guess a lot of us, or yes, a lot of you may be wondering, like, what exactly do I need to study? What am I studying? I'm not completely sure about this. Is it good, the screen, the slides? Ravi, if you could help me here, please.
Yeah.
Is it okay? The way the slides appearing on the screen?
Looks good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. So yes, we'll continue. So I would like to start with a little exercise, and unfortunately, I cannot interact with you guys, but let's do a little exercise. You at home, you take a couple of minutes, and what I would like you to do is to visualize international relations and to try to draw it. Think about me or a potential situation that you meet an alien and you don't speak the language of this alien, and you would like to convey to this alien what exactly are international relations. So what I would like you to do is, I mean, if you have a pen or pencil and a piece of paper next to you, is fine. If you can draw on a screen, is fine as well. If you don't have either of this, that's fine as well. You can kind of try to visualize this in your head. But what I would like you to do is to visualize and to draw like a scheme of international relations. Yeah. So I don't want you to do doing anything like this, like little people holding hands or little flags, but I would like you to draw a scheme, like arrows, circles, triangles, dots. It's up to you. Let's take a couple of minutes. Let's take a couple of minutes and let me leave you with that and try to do your exercise. This is the exercise I usually do at my first lecture at the introductory course to international relations. And it is, I think, quite difficult, actually, at least quite a lot of our students, they find it difficult because we all have certain ideas about what international relations are. But it's when you ask to visualize it, it becomes a bit difficult sometimes, like how exactly you draw it. Yeah, so would be interesting to see. Well, unfortunately, I won't get to see, but for you to see how you deal with this assignment. Well, let's have just one more minute, and if you don't manage to complete it, it's fine as well, as long as you have some kind of an idea in your head, some kind of a scheme. Well, how would you have drawn international relations? Right. Well, let's continue then. So I guess that quite a few of you had something like this, right? Like what you see on the slide right now. So you had maybe some dots connecting, or you had certain kind of lines. Maybe you drew the continents, maybe you drew big circles, maybe you drew small circles. Maybe you had big circles, and inside those circles you had some triangles, kind of all connecting to each other, maybe fighting, kind of like, like clashing with each other, right? I would assume that the majority have got this kind of a drawing. Well, do you want to know how I would have responded or what I would have drawn if I was given the same task? This is my answer. How does it look to you? Does it look to you like a mess? Yes, it's intended to look like a mess, and it is intended to be a mess. Why? Well, one is because I'm a really bad drawer. I'm really bad at drawing and painting. That's one of the answers. But there's a more serious answer to this question, because if we think about international relations, actually, it's a very, very complex web of multiple interactions, various interactions that happen at the same time, simultaneously, but are conducted on different levels by very different actors, in different places across the world. So let's think about some of those interactions that are happening at the same time. At the same time. So one is interstate conflict. So states fighting wars with each other or engaged in hybrid wars, which has been quite popular these days, I guess, or just having tensions with each other. And this has been this is the classic question that international relations as a discipline has been trying to answer since its birth, which, well, give or take 100 years ago. International relations was born as an academic discipline in the interwar period. But interstate conflict obviously is not the only issue that international relations as a discipline is dealing with today. So how about cooperation? Yeah, so along with conflict, state-level cooperation is happening, and between different states, and states sometimes you think will be quite unlikely to cooperate, as North Korea and the United States, as you can see in the picture here. Yes, so states cooperate, leaders, again, when we talk about states, yeah, so when we say India, when we say China, when we say United States, obviously states cannot act by themselves. We're talking about their representatives, yeah, so politicians, so leaders like prime ministers, presidents, but also heads of other agencies like ministries, right? But through them, states interact and they cooperate, right? So along with interstate conflict, state-level cooperation is also happening. And at the same time, we have economy and trade, and economic interactions and trade. These are conducted by states, and there's certain agreements reached by states. And parts of it, I guess, fall into this realm of state-level cooperation. But we obviously, increasingly so, it's becoming that states are not the only actors to engage in trade and economy, sometimes not even the most important ones, right? Think about corporations like Apple, Microsoft, even, I don't know, Nike, yeah? Those are multinational corporations, Alibaba, multinational corporations which engage in trades and all kinds of transactions across the globe, right? And they play a very important role in our lives today. I guess, I mean, all of us, especially the young generation, are quite aware of this. So this is also a very important aspect of international relations, right? How about migration? Migration. So we're talking about people moving sometimes legally, sometimes illegally. They're crossing border. Yeah. So people move from one country to another for whatever reasons. This can be simply economic reason. Sometimes these are political reasons. Yeah. So people have been persecuted, escaping from a horrible, oppressive regime, or seeking just better lives for themselves. So migration, and this way here we're talking about individuals or groups of individuals, sometimes large groups of individuals, are moving from one location, one country to another country. And these affects, right? These affects societies. This kind of movement of people, it affects societies both in the receiving country, obviously, because there's certainly an influx of people into the society. This can be obviously both positive and negative aspects of different cultures, different religions. But this also affects the sending societies, yeah, the societies which are the sources of migration, because people of certain educational level, of certain gender, of certain financial ability, just leaving those societies, right? So this cross-border migration also has a very important effect on societies in question, right? When we think about other actors, so obviously we're not talking only about states or individuals, as we just briefly looked at now, but we can look at non-governmental organizations and the various networks. So we can think about organizations like Greenpeace, who engage in environmental protection or activism related to environment. We can talk about Amnesty International, organizations, Oxfam, all kinds of organizations that are Doctors Without Borders, all kinds of organizations that engage, non-governmental organizations that engage in some kind of cross-border activity aimed at, well, improving the lives of the people on the other side, campaigning for their rights, campaigning for protection of the environment, etc., etc. And the actions of these actors, they obviously have a very important, impact on the societies where they're operating, right? So this is another actor, and this is another level of interactions, of international interactions that are happening at the same time, yeah, at the same time as state level cooperation or conflict is happening, and at the same time as multinational companies engage in trade, all kind of economic agreements, etc. International institutions or international organizations, so these are intergovernmental organizations, organizations such as the United Nations, organizations such as the IMF, International Monetary Fund, WHO. All these organizations, they play quite an important role in international affairs, right? They create treaties, or when they don't create treaties, but they initiate certain treaties which are signed by member states. They facilitate negotiations. They advocate for certain international policies. And yes, these international institutions quite are well, they're all the intergovernmental institutions. So states are their members, but quite often they become independent from the member states to a certain extent in their activities, in the way they see the world, in the way they see certain issue. So they become actors in their own right. Yeah. Well, insurgency, this is not interstate conflict. We're talking about militant groups, which some people would locate in the NGO, yeah, civil society, global civil society. But obviously, insurgency is very important. It quite often has an international aspect to it, and just think about the Islamic State, the way it was operating in Syria until quite recently. Yeah, so membership from across the globe, right? So these kind of organizations obviously also play quite an important role in affecting the societies where they operate at, in the societies where they recruit their members from, right? How about the environment? These days, environment is becoming an increasingly important issue for everybody, for the states, but also for the individuals, right? So environment is an important international issue these days. I mean, there are quite a few other issues, even international marriage. You know, some people would say it's not important, but actually it is. It depends who you ask and for whom. If if you live in a small village where many of the women, they're forced for whatever reasons to, or young women, they go overseas to seek to get married, this affects your society. It affects the receiving society as well. So this kind of issues are also quite important for the ways these societies operate, and they involve, I mean, they are cross-border, yeah? So they are international, they are cross-border. So if we think about all of these issues, and there are probably quite a few more that I forgot to mention, or I just didn't mention here, a few important issues, international issues or international interactions, can put it this way, that are happening simultaneously. And then we can go back to this little exercise that I gave you in the beginning. And I guess you will understand that this is probably the right way to, or there's no right or wrong here, but you will understand why I would have drawn this kind of complete mess drawing to visualize international, or to draw international relations. So the question is obviously how do we make sense of this complexity? And this is where international relations as a discipline comes along. And that's why we study international relations, and that's why it's important to study international relations, because we provide, together we think about tools that will enable us to make sense of this complexity, to simplify it, and to be able to analyze. because something so complex, yeah, when it's so complex, when it's a complete mess, it's important, it's impossible to analyze. But we want to analyze, we want to understand causes and effects in international arena. And for this, we need to be able to simplify. We need to be able to look at international relations from a certain angle, and just to see certain things, to simplify this complex and a messy picture that I just drew for you. So if you if you join an international relations program, the first thing you would be studying is international relations theory. The different approaches to international relations theory in the United States, they are understood in a certain way. International relations theory, what it is understood in a certain way. In Europe, it's understood in a slightly different way. I think New Zealand belongs to probably more to European tradition. We have a softer, less kind of, rigid understanding of a theory when it comes to social sciences in general, but to international relations in particular. And we'll look at a theory as a worldview. As a worldview, like as a set of assumptions about the world, and as a general explanation, that's trying to make sense of this complexity. You all have worldviews. I have my own worldviews. You have your own worldviews, and based on your worldview or your kind of assumptions, you have drawn these little schemes and pictures that I asked you to do just 15-20 minutes ago, right? But theory it's not simply a worldview. It's structured, it's an ordered worldview. Why? Because first of all, it suggests to us what is the normal state of affairs in international realm. Is it conflict? Is it cooperation? Is it something else? Well, what is normal? What is the normal state of affairs? It identifies the most important actors. Yeah. So within this complexity, within this mess, which actors should we be looking at? All right. Should we be looking at the states? Should we be looking at individuals? Maybe intergovernmental organizations, maybe non-governmental organizations. And depending on the theory that you use or we use, it would differ. Yeah, so some theories say it's about the states. Some theories says no, we need to include intergovernmental organizations. Some theory says we need to include individuals and non-governmental organizations as well. But it will depend on the theory. Yeah, and a theory also identifies the most important relationships for us. So what kind of relationships, interactions, let's put it this way, in the international realm should we be looking at? Military, yeah, so who has more weapons, or what kind of, clashes and wars have been happening and why they've been happening? Or should we be looking at economy? Should we be looking at cultural exchanges? Or should we be looking at migration, for example, of individuals, right? And related to this, obviously, is the most important issues. Yeah, so what kind of issues should we be interested in? What kind of issues are most important for our understanding and for the functioning of the international system? Is it war, for example, interstate good old war? Or is it human rights? Or is it the environment? Or maybe it's the economy. Yeah, maybe it's trade. Trade is the most important issue for us to focus on and to understand how it functions. Huh? So that's what our theory of international relations does. It gives us a worldview. It gives us a certain set of glasses that when we put on, we see the international realm through a certain angle, and it becomes more simple. It becomes simplified. We see certain issues, we see certain actors, and all the rest disappears. Yeah. And this enables us actually to, yes, it's obviously, it sacrifices this complexity on this wholeness of international interactions, but by simplifying, by giving us a certain angle through which to look at international relations, it enables us to analyze, to focus, to ask questions, and to get answers to these questions. Yeah? So when we use a certain theory, we get a clearer vision. Yeah, basically we put on certain set of glasses, or tinted glasses if you want, because if we change these glasses to a different set of glasses, we see it in a different way. We see a different set of glasses by the same in a different theory. We will see international relations in a different way. What is important, though, is to be able to, first of all, identify the different sets of glasses and to be able to take them off and put them on, take them off and put them on, and to use the ones which you find the most suitable for yourself or for the particular situation in question, which you're interested in. So let me give you a couple of examples of what kind of answers different theories give us when we put them on. So one, I guess, question which is quite important in international relations today and has been for quite a while is about nuclear weapons. Yeah, so what about nuclear weapons? Nuclear weapons, are they good or bad? Is it good for a country to have nuclear weapons, or is it bad for a country to have nuclear weapons? We have non-proliferation treaty, yeah, which basically prevents, or at least the signatories, the countries that are party to it, they say we will stop nuclear weapons from getting to other countries. And those of you familiar with the tragedy of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan, which has been Japan has been the only country, at least as far as we know, that's been the victim of nuclear weapons. Obviously, when nuclear weapons are used, it's a huge tragedy. We have lots of victims and people suffering, civilians. But the question is, overall, nuclear weapons for stability of the international system, let's put it this way. Are they good or bad? And different theories will probably give you different answers. But one theory, theory of realism, which is a very important theory in international relations, would argue, somewhat counterintuitively, I think, at least to many of us who think that, nuclear weapons are so bad, we need to get rid of them. Say, no. Nuclear weapons are actually good. Nuclear weapons bring stability. Because if all states will have them, or the states that are in tense relations with each other will have them, there will be a balance of power, right? Because when two rival states, both have nuclear weapons, each one knows that if it starts a war with the other state, it will probably get destroyed as well, or it will be quite badly damaged. Will suffer a lot if the other state has also nuclear weapons. So this creates this balance of power, balance of fear, whichever way you want to call it, but it actually stabilizes international relations. So nuclear weapons are actually good, So this is, you don't need to agree. There's no right or wrong answer here. But this is just one example of how we look at international relations, or how we look at the question of nuclear weapons. How about another question? So China and United States, as all of you probably know, if you're following the news, the relations are not very good these days, or haven't been good for the last decade or so. So why is this happening? Why are United States and China such tense relations? Why are there tensions between two countries? Some people will say, it's because of the Chinese political system, or it's because of the American political system, or it's because of individual leaders, it's because of Xi Jinping, or it's because of Trump, or because of Biden, or because of Obama, because of ideologies in China or ideologies in the United States. But again, some theories of international relations, they say this is actually very normal. It has nothing to do with Chinese political system or American political system or ideologies in the two countries or what the leaders are like. This is normal. This is because we have one existing power, and we have a United States, and we have a rising power, China. Yeah, and this is normal. This has happened in history many times. When there's an existing power and a rising power, they're always bound to be in conflict with each other. So the so-called power transitions theory. So they say nothing to do with China or the Chinese characteristics, nothing to do with the United States or kind of the American characteristics. It is normal. It's a normal process in international relations, which has happened many times before. So this is just another example how we use international relations theory to understand, to make sense of certain important issues in international affairs. So if you decide to study international relations, and I guess this would be, well, this is the way we teach it at my university, Victoria University of Wellington, or this is kind of the way we approach it. I would probably think that other universities do the same, though I cannot guarantee that. So what you do learn a lot, obviously, or you need to learn a lot about what happened and what is happening. So you need to be up to date with the news, international news, and obviously you need to know a bit of history, quite a bit of history, international history. If you don't know who were the parties in the Cold War, then it will be quite hard to understand why we are where we are today. Yeah, or if you don't know anything about the Cold War, what was it about? Who were the main actors there? So you learn all this, but this is something, frankly speaking, that you can do on your own. You pick a couple of books, watch a couple of videos, you read the news on a daily basis, and you'll get this knowledge. So this knowledge is important, but this is not only the knowledge that we aim to give, but it's actually the tools that will assist you in interpreting, in analyzing these events. What has happened? Why has it happened? Who were the actors? What the important actors? Why did the actors engage in the act that they did? Yeah, and from there, obviously, we can make certain projections about the future. We can kind of try to look and try to predict certain trajectories about what is going to happen. Though, I mean, predicting and projecting is not something that we do in academia, but this is definitely something that these tools enable you to engage in. You will also learn how to distinguish important news, important events, and identify key actors and key actions, important actions, from noise. Because, well, I refer to this as noise. This is probably not noise. But if we open the TV today, or even if we read the news online or we watch the news on YouTube, you get a lot. There's a lot of information there. There's a lot of information there. And sometimes it's quite difficult to understand what is it really important. What's really important in this 10 minutes or 15 minutes that we watched, right? So we aim to provide you with tools to be able to distinguish, this noise or not so important information from the really important one. And in the process, you acquire analytical skills. You acquire analytical skills, which obviously we use and we practice a lot in understanding international relations as part of our international relations degree. But these can be used. This is a set of skills that you take with you, you equip with, and you take with you after graduation, and you can use it in probably any kind of job again. You won't be able to use it if you work in a hospital, I guess, as a doctor or as a mechanic. But if you get a job in the government, in any ministry, if this is your aim, if this is what you're interested in. I mean, obviously, we have a lot of graduates who work for ministries of, from, well, New Zealand Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but also we have students from other countries who work for ministries of foreign affairs of their respective countries. And you can work for any other ministry or any other governmental agency as well, because this set of tools, analytical tools that we give you, I think can be applied basically in any area of the government, but also in the private sector, as well. We have quite a few graduates who work with think tanks, but also banks and companies, NGOs, because the ability to analyze, the ability to interpret, the ability to identify the important issues, the important actors, the ability to write concisely and analytically is something which is quite important in all of these sectors, at least to the best of my understanding. So this is my presentation for today. Doesn't look like I will be able to receive any questions from you at this point. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening. And hopefully we'll see you sometime in Wellington. Thank you so much. And thank you, Ravi.
Thank you, Dr. Alex. I mean, if you allow me, can I ask a couple of questions?
Sure, sure.
So a lot of students who would watch this right after their online classes would end and during the entire week. Could you share a little spotlight on what is the duration of this course? I mean, right after class 12th, I mean, they could kind of enroll for an undergraduate, course in international relations. Do you also have the postgrad courses in this? And what could, a possible job of the future, which you just shared in the last point, I mean, could look like? And if you could just share, some anecdotes of any of your students from, international community joining in your campuses and where they are placed and what is the quality of life and basic salaries. So if you could just very briefly share a little about this, this would really help our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you. These are very good questions. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to talk about salaries because I don't think our students share this information with us. Though it's quite, I think, an important issue, and I think I will try to look into it and see if I can get any information. But let me start from the beginning. So the duration of the course is 3 years. It's 3 years, and this is the New Zealand system. You can do an honors, so you can do an extra year of honors. But if not, basically you can proceed to a master's degree. We have a taught master's degree, which is master's in international relations, which takes another year. So basically, if you want to go all the way from undergrad to masters, you can do it in 4 years. You can do it in 4 years. We have quite a lot of we have different agreements with different universities in Asia, but also in the United States, across the world, that enable you to start studying at your university and then transfer to Victoria, to Wellington, to finish, to complete 1 year, 2 years of your degree, and then to continue for masters. So there are all kinds of these arrangements. We have quite a lot of international students. So, for example, one of the programs that I've been looking after for quite a while now is a program with Diplomatic Academy of Vietnam. So we get students from there. They do the undergraduate degree. They do half of the degree in Vietnam and half of the degree here in Wellington. So they come here for only a year and a half. And in terms of students, so let's put it this way. I'm teaching undergraduate first year introduction to international relations class, and last year, I haven't been teaching it this year, but last year I had 450 students in my class. So it's a really large course. It's really popular, And unfortunately, it's quite difficult to follow the career paths of those. We have quite a lot of students who go for masters and then join the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So a former student of mine who I just saw a couple of weeks ago, he's in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. New Zealand's Minister of Education today, I think he did a master degree in political science, not in international relations, with us a few years back. So we have students, quite a lot of students working for the governmental sector. International students, some of them, there's, at least for now, there's a possibility to work for a couple of years after graduation in New Zealand. So some of them stay here. Some of them work for various companies based in New Zealand. I have a former, actually, student from India. She did a Masters of International Relations with us. She was working for the Indian embassy here for a while. So they quite a lot of the students go back to their countries. They either join the ministries or they go into the private sector, work for various companies, investment banks. And I guess the range of salaries would also vary quite a lot, depending on the country you're in, depending on the sector you're at. So that's about it. I hope I answered at least partially your question.
You did. Thank you, Dr. Alexander. And just one last question. I mean, would you be aware of, an approximate idea of the annual fee of this particular course? And are there any scholarships for Indian students?
This is something that my colleague Andrea would probably be better positioned to answer. You can go on our website, and basically there's a calculator there. You can you just choose home student, international student. You can get all the fees calculated. I think there's some scholarships available as well. But Andrea, if you want to add anything, please.
Sure. So I do have that information with me. So in terms of a Bachelor of Arts degree, which is where we teach our international relations major, it's around 28,000 New Zealand dollars per year for the international students. And with the exchange rate at the moment, that's about 15.5 lakh rupees per year. Yeah, we do offer scholarships. We have academic merit scholarships. So students who do well in their 12th grade can get a scholarship of up to $10,000 for their first year of study. And very simple entry requirements. We do it on the basis of only the 12th grade marks rather than students needing to take any type of SATs or additional tests alongside.
Wonderful. That was an informative piece. Thank you, Henry, and thank you, Alexander, and to all the students who are watching this live on YouTube right now, or you would watch it right after your online classes and today. I would request all of you to register on sourcescholarships.com and please create your profile and show your interest for the course International Relationship at the University in Wellington. And we would send all your queries to the respected office there, and you will hear back from there. And of course, scholarships, as Andrea said, I mean, you could also apply. There is a section on the website, and all the information will be sent to the respected university, and they will get back to you soon. Thank you once again, Dr. Alexander. Thank you, Andrea, for your time. And I look forward to meeting you in New Zealand sometime. Let's hope so.
Yes, hope so. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay safe and stay indoors. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.